Alrighty, so while everyone is still trickling in, we're going to go ahead and start with a few housekeeping items. So over here on Picmonic, over here on Janine's Journey, which is where I hope a bunch of you guys came from, is we love questions. I love engaging with you guys. I love talking with you guys, giving you some tips and tricks on how to successfully master nurse practitioner school. So make sure you leave your questions in the chat widget over in the lower right hand corner. We'll do a Q&A at the end. So I promise we'll get to those questions when we can, okay? So whenever you registered for the webinar today, you were entered in for a chance to win a free 1 year subscription to Picmonic. 1 year free. Oh my gosh. I paid for my subscription. And so that, you guys, is a win-win. So make sure you stay to the end. We'll announce the winner at the very end of the webinar, okay? And this will be recorded and available on YouTube and on my YouTube channel as well. The link will be in all of my description boxes for any of my videos going forward. And you can also find it on Picmonic's page as well. It usually takes about a day for us to create the video and create that link, okay? And finally, make sure you stay tuned to the end of the webinar because I'll have a special promotion for those who may not win. Because I mean, it's only one winner, right? So I'll have a special promotion for you guys who were unfortunately not able to win the 1 year free. All righty. So a little about myself. My name is Janine, and before I became a pediatric nurse practitioner, I practiced for 7 years as a pediatric registered nurse. I started off in a very small hospital and was like, okay, maybe I want to travel. And so I did travel pediatric nursing, and then I moved back home to Florida to become a pediatric nurse practitioner. And I did nursing for 7 years. And I actually just started my very first job as a pediatric nurse practitioner 2 weeks ago. So I'm really excited to bring you guys on that journey. Actually, that vlog just went live today if you are from my YouTube channel. So you're able to see all the highs and lows of me starting off as a pediatric nurse practitioner. And it can be difficult at times, but I think it's worth it. Um, and how did I discover Pitmonic? I'm a YouTuber. And so before I became a YouTuber, I was obsessed with watching YouTube and seeing how nurses and, just everyone lived their lives. And I came across another nurse influencer who shared Pitmonic when she was becoming an FNP, fell in love with it. Purchased the full year for myself for my last year of pediatric nurse practitioner school. And I pretty much used it every single day. And that leads me into my next one. How did I use Pitmonic during school? I used it almost every day, pretty much every day, maybe 5 to 6 days out of the week. And my favorite part of Pitmonic was the playlist feature. I was able to create my own playlists. And oh, there it is. So before I was able to create my own playlist, Pigmonic just had it to where you could look at their sample playlist. But then, like 3 or 4 months into my last year in nursing school, I was able to start creating my own playlist. And my favorite playlists were the pediatric milestones and the vaccination playlist. And I kind of combined them into one so that if I was on a long drive to clinical, sometimes my clinical commute was an hour. So I would listen to Picmonic there and back. And oh my gosh, I love the 2 year developmental milestone, the 2 year tutu. Is the cutest milestones ever. I love the animations. I love the pictures that they come up with in order for us to help learn and know this information. And there's my next one, pediatric vaccination schedules, ages 12 to 15 months. One very mad hipster. So those are just a few of the Picmonics that I love and I would review, like I said, pretty much on a daily basis, if not daily, every week. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get started with what you're here for, and that is how you can master becoming a nurse practitioner in 5 easy steps. I say easy, but if you stick to them and you do them and they become a part of your life, your routine while you're in nursing school, I think you too would be just as successful as I was. So, my very first tip for you is to review and study daily while in school. And I think that's important, even if you're reviewing something for 30 minutes, something for an hour. That way, you're committing to memory the information that you're learning in nursing school. And reviewing and studying daily, another tip to go along with that is to answer questions. Pitmonic has an amazing daily quiz feature that you can utilize. It sends you reminders to make sure you are answering your questions every day. It still reminds me, and I've been done with school since November, and it's like, you didn't answer I think I had 150 questions that I wanted to complete um, throughout 150 questions I wanted to complete daily. I know that's really high on the bar. But as I was getting closer to the end of school and starting to prepare for boards, I wanted to test my knowledge and test that information daily and all day. So you can do 25 questions, 50 questions, whatever you realistically have time for, whatever you can set aside time for. Make sure you're answering questions every day. It's giving you um, your taking that information that you're learning and you are applying it. So make sure you answer questions daily. Doesn't have to be 150 like I did, but maybe start off with 10 and then 15. And when you're in the break room, because you all are nurses, right? So whenever you're in the break room or you're taking a break from seeing patients, or you just have a down moment at the end of the day, you can go ahead and just answer a few questions. Tip number two is get a planner. Get a planner and make a study schedule. At the beginning of each semester, I would sit down with my syllabus, I would sit down with my planner. And if you guys watch me over on Janine's Journey, you know I live by my Erin Condren planner. She doesn't leave my side. I actually have 3 of them now. Don't judge me. But she does not leave my side because I'm looking at it constantly, making sure I'm staying on top of due dates, making sure I know when the next test is. I know when my next discussion board due, my next paper. I just want to stay on top of everything. So get a planner, make a study schedule, and get organized. And it helps you to focus so you don't get overwhelmed, because your first day of class, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much to do. I can't, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. But if you get your planner, you make a schedule. I sit down, like I say, daily, weekly, and make a plan to make sure I study the information. You won't get overwhelmed, and you can take it test by test, day by day. Don't get overwhelmed when you see the information. Another feature that Picmonic has is a study scheduler. So this is a brand new feature. I tried it out a little when it first became available at the end of my program. But I think it would be useful for you guys is because you can select the topics that you're going to be tested on, and it gives you a study scheduler. So it tells you how you can it I'm trying to remember because I used it like just a little bit because I was almost done with school. But basically, you put in what you're going to be tested on, and it selects the Picmonics, and it gives you Picmonics that you can review every day. And of course, after you review the Picmonics, you take your quiz through the Picmonic, and it kind of just helps you prepare as you go along, and you're not overwhelmed with the information. So, say for instance, your test is in 2 weeks. You'll put that your test is in 2 weeks. These are the topics that you're going to be tested on, and it creates a study scheduler for you. And so I think that was a really, really great feature that they added. And if you use it, come drop me a message over on Janine's Journey. I would love to see how it worked for you. I really wish that I had more time to play with it and get to know it more. But my last my last semester of nursing school or nurse practitioner school was really more so about the business of becoming a nurse practitioner. So billing, coding, um, the how we get paid, pretty much. Alrighty. So next up, tip number 3 I have for you is to learn the material for yourself in future practice, not just for the exam. And I think that's why it's very important to create a study schedule, get a planner and create a study schedule, because it helps you to slowly sift your way through the information versus cramming. And sometimes I can be a procrastinator and cram for an exam. So I want you guys to be better than I was. But do not cram for the exam, because you're going to need to know this information for board certification. And when you take your boards, you, of course, during nurse practitioner school, you learn so much information, and you're only going to get 175 questions on board. So you are accountable for everything that you've learned in nursing school. So it's very important that you make sure you learn the information for yourself, for your patients, because would you want a nurse practitioner or a doctor who cramped for their exams? That's what I started to think of. It's like, if I take my kid to go see this nurse practitioner and she only studied for her test and knew the information for the tests, would I really want to go to her office? So it's just very important that you learn the material for yourself. And once again, this is why I listen to the playlist in my car on the go and on the go as much as possible, because I tell you now, when I see patients, I think about, she's 2. I think about that 2 2 pitmonic. Oh, she should be jumping. She should be able to have 100 to 150 words in her vocabulary. She should be able to she should have achieved the rapprochement by now. And all of those things I recall from the pitmonic, because I see the picture in my head as I'm speaking to you about it. And it works. When I tell you Pitmonic works, it works. My mom was like, "You talk about Pitmonic a lot." I was like, "Because I love it." So it really does work. Alrighty, moving on to my next tip, which is make tables, charts, and or concept maps for your common diagnoses you will see. I know it's like, okay, we're using Picmonic. Why do we need to make our own tables and chart? You're just creating another way of, another form of muscle memory, another way to learn and commit the information to your memory. And like I said, I know you guys are all registered nurses. So you guys remember those concept maps that we created in nursing school? It's the same thing. I also made a spreadsheet of everything that I would see in clinical of all the different diagnoses. Even if I saw the same thing over and over, I would still put what it is, how it presents when I see it, what I need to do in order to successfully and accurately rule it in and rule it out as a diagnosis. So, diagnostic testing, and any treatment, or what the treatments are, if there are any treatments. If any of you are in school to be PNPs, there are a lot of things that are viral. So, there's not much treatment. Most of it is just symptomatic care and whatever teaching we need to provide to the patient. So I would do that over and over and over, creating that muscle memory, learning it that way. When I see a kid who's presenting with acute otitis media, who's had fever for 4 days, and I look in that ear, I already know, bam, that's an ear infection. I am going to treat it with amoxicillin, 80 high dose, 80 to 90 milligrams per kilogram. This is what I need to tell mom, and this is how I'm going to treat it. So just making sure you're making those tables, you're making those charts, make that concept map, and creating that muscle memory and learning this information for what, not just you, not just the test, but for your patient's sake. And last but not least is mental health matters. Especially right now, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. I know we still have a lot going on. We are all still working on the front lines, and kudos to us all, because we're able to get through school, work on the front lines, and be there for our patients and our families. But make sure you're there for yourself, because I love to tell my parents this: if you don't take care of yourself, no one can take care of you. So you have to take care of yourself as a provider. It's very important that you're taking mental health breaks. I know I say to study a lot, but making sure you're taking adequate study breaks. And maybe start weekly, bi-weekly or just monthly self-care days. Listen, going to Massage Envy is a guilty pleasure of mine. I make sure I go monthly and either get a stretch, a facial, or a massage, and making sure you're scheduling family time. I know for me, mentally, when I haven't seen or talked to my family in a while, it really wears me down. So I make sure I schedule time to talk with them and visit with them and just to take a small break from school. It really, really helps with their mental well-being. And I know as healthcare workers, we think about everyone else around us. Like you think about your patients, you think about work, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about your kids and your husband. But please, 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 I just want, my last message to be take care of yourself and making sure you're taking those steady breaks, making sure you're spending time with the family, and making sure you're taking care of yourself. And those are my 5 tips I have for you. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we made it. So, my study schedule. So what I would do is I was working 3 days a week on the floor as a pediatric registered nurse, and I would listen to my Picmonics on the way to work and on my way home from work. And I usually did my 3 days in a row, if at all possible. And when on my off days, I would wake up at 9 a.m., have breakfast, and then I wish I had my actual study schedule here, but I would study whatever information was needed to study for that week of school. So I would review the information, I would review my lectures. And then after I reviewed my lectures, I would answer questions in my pediatric nurse practitioner certification review book. And then after I answered my questions, I would review the Picmonics and answer those questions as well. Any topic that had a Picmonic, I would always, always review those Picmonics every time I sat down to study. Then I would take a study break. I use this pretty awesome app. I'm going to show you guys. Just bear with me. I use this awesome app called Be Focus. And as you can see, as soon as I go in, Picmonic Daily Quiz, I would study for about 20 to 30 minutes at a time. After I studied, after I would study for that 20 minutes, I would take a 5 minute break. I would do 4 20-minute sessions and then I would take a 30-minute break. I don't have any a husband or any kids. No polygamy over here, but I don't have a husband. I don't have kids. So on my off days, I would pretty much spend all day studying using the Be Focus app, making sure I studied for 20 minutes, took my 5 minute break, so on and so forth. And then I would take my 30-minute break. All righty. So we're going to start the Q&A portion. Go ahead and drop all of your questions in the Q&A chat. And my moderator, Miss Heather, she is going to let me know what questions you guys have, and we're going to answer them. What resources will test my comprehension and will make me think critically? So let's see. I'm not sure if you're in PNP school or FNP school, but what I tell all nursing students, whether registered nurse or pediatric nurse practitioner, go ahead and get your board certification review book as soon as you start your clinical component of classes, because I love my pediatric nurse practitioner review book. That is what's going to test your comprehension, and it gives you the bullet points of everything you need to know about the specific diagnoses that you could be tested on boards. And it has all of the questions at the end of the chapter. You answer the questions, and at the back of the book, it has the answers with the rationales. And those books, they are really, really helpful, and it would test your comprehension. That was a really good question. So I am certified through the PNCB, and I am a pediatric nurse practitioner in primary care. I did complete a review course Oh, let me read the question. Did you complete a review course prior to taking your certification exam? And which exam did you take? So I took PNCB's certification review course, and I'm certified as a pediatric nurse practitioner, PC, which means primary care. And I did take a review course. I actually took two review courses. If you are in school to become a pediatric nurse practitioner, NAPNAP is our professional organization. Make sure you go ahead and join as a student so you can pay the student price and not the professional price. And NAPNAP had a review course that I used, and actually listened to those lectures daily once I downloaded it. And I also took another review course called Fitzgerald Review Course. Fitzgerald is really, really good, I think, for adults. I don't think it was really good for pediatric nurse practitioner students. That's just my honest opinion. And I also answer questions from Rosh Review. Rosh Review is a question bank, and I answer questions the entire month. Well, the first 3 weeks in January, because I took my board exam January 28th, and I answer questions daily. I probably answer like 400 questions every day. Their rationales were really, really great. Were you in a part-time or full-time program? I was in a part-time program because I worked full-time, and I couldn't see myself going down part-time and still having like my bills to pay. And I also was paying for tuition out of pocket as well. How did you go about learning all the diseases for your PNP? Did you make different sections like patho, physical exam, pharmacology? Yes, so I made this 1 second. I do have an example of what I did. I'm gonna show it to you guys. I made um a a notebook, and what I did was I would put the diagnoses at the top, then right under the diagnoses, like the pathophysiology of it, how it presents, the signs and symptoms, how you would treat it, the education that you would give the parents. I Heather, is it okay if I just go grab that really quick so that I can show them? 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, you guys, but I really wanted to show you because I really did. So you see here, I have the pathology, the disease, signs and symptoms, treatments and medications, diagnostic tests, patient education, and then differential diagnoses. It's very important that you know your differential diagnoses, because just because it presents that way, it could definitely be something else. So I made this for pretty much every single thing that I saw in clinicals, and I love this. And I have like quite a bit that I did in this book. Okay. How about pocket guides to primary care or whatever the specialty is? I used pocket guides when I was a registered nurse. I didn't. I literally, this is this is my holy grail. This is my Bible. So this is that pediatric nurse practitioner certification review guide that I told you guys about. And it is everything you need to know about the pediatric nurse practitioner certification exam, everything that you could possibly be tested on in this book here. And it has questions at the end of each chapter that I did and I learned. And this is this is what I think you should get. It was the newest one when I first purchased it, but purchase the newest one and then the one previous to it, because the questions are different. The information is pretty much the same, but the questions are different. All right, you guys, two more questions. I'm sorry I had to go run and grab that, but I wanted to show you guys that I love it. Any other Patho resources other than Pitmonic have a favorite book? This is my favorite book. Um, Other than Pitmonic, I use for pediatrics the Burns book. I personally like the Burns book. Some people didn't like the way that it was worded. I did. And I also use another book by Beth Richardson, pediatric, I forget the like full name of it, but it's by Beth Richardson, and it's pretty similar to this book right here. It has all everything you need to know if you're a pediatric nurse practitioner in it. Alrighty, how long would you say to study prior to taking the certification exam? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, etc. I want to say that my last course in my FNP program is a review of everything learned in the program. It should be. My dean of my program, she did a review course for us the last semester, and it was about 4 or 5 hours. So I also had that review as well at the end of my program. So I was considering taking an exam 1 month after graduating. I would love your opinion because I definitely don't want to take it too soon. No, I think it just depends on you as a person. I took a month off before I took my NCLEX, and I graduated in May. No, I graduated in June, took my NCLEX in July. I graduated December 12th from my program, and I took my board certification exam January 28th. So it really just depends on you as a person and what you're most comfortable with. I will tell you this, you're never going to feel prepared. I don't care how much preparation you do, you're not going to feel prepared. I blacked out during my exam. I like was waiting for them to tell me because it tells you whether you pass or fail right away. And so I was just sitting there waiting and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I pass? Did I pass? Like trying to prepare myself like for what was to come, like if I were to see the fail. But I think whatever you feel comfortable with, I think if you do everything that you're supposed to do, you're reviewing. I suggest taking a review course, answering questions every day, and just making sure while you're in the program, learning the information for yourself, that is how you're going to successfully prepare yourself for the exam. Um, so I would say whatever you're comfortable with, but do not wait too long. If you wait too long, I just think it's a recipe for disaster. So I would say 1 to 2 months, just making sure you're doing everything to prepare. That was the last question. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is over already, you guys. I've been preparing for this for like 2 months. I'm so excited that I was able to connect with you guys, answer some questions. If you have more questions, make sure you visit me over on Janine's Journey and we can chat more there. I have lots of videos on how I studied. So I posted 2 videos on exactly how I studied for my pediatric nurse practitioner certification exam, and all the resources that I use and all the resources that I wanted to show you here today. You see me in real time actually using them. So just remember that the recording will be available tomorrow on YouTube, and I'll have the link in all of my videos over on YouTube as well. So it is now time to announce our winner for a 1-year Pitmonic subscription. Drum roll. And congratulations to Miss Sandy Ellis. A member of our team will reach out to you via email, the email you use to sign up, and you will receive your 1-year free subscription to Pitmonic. That's exciting. I'm so excited for you. And unfortunately, if you were not the lucky winner, I still have something great for you. I'm going to hook you up with 30% off when you subscribe to Pitmonic in the next 24 hours. There are 2 ways that you can do this. You can click the link right now in the chat to purchase, or you should receive an email with the link directly to the discounted price within the next hour. Thank you guys so much for attending this webinar. Thank you. Oh my gosh, 29 people was in here. So I'm really excited to have connected with you guys. If you need me, make sure you follow me over on Instagram and YouTube at Janine's Journey. I answer all my DMs and my comments on my YouTube as fast as possible whenever I have time. So thank you. Thank you for attending. You guys have a good day. Bye.